My upbringing was pretty rocky. I grew up in a broken home where my mom's family was kind of Catholic and my dad was quite irreligious. And so I grew up really with two paradigms and two worldviews. I mostly didn't believe anything. I avoided faith as much as possible.
So I grew up in a fairly de-churched home. I remember attending a church service once or twice in my young childhood for an Easter or Christmas. My mother was an ex-Catholic. My father, he was Christian but never really brought it into the home. So this brings us to high school. I was kind of riding the coattails of my faith that I had acquired in middle school through a good friend, mutual friend of ours, Brian. And it's something that was kind of shallow, a little bit fake. I didn't entirely know what it meant. That being said, it didn't stop me from completely influencing my life, and it did play a large part in our relationship with each other.
So by high school, I had really left any sense of belief in organized religion, and Mark hadn't. Being the caring friend that I was,
yes.
I thought it was best that I would free him from these final vestiges of man-made religion.
And the slow thing is, it started to work. Wanting to impress my best friend and have his approval led me down a pathway to denying what little vestiges of my faith that I had.
By the time I was in college, I was feeling pretty depressed. The reality of my life wasn't lining up with my worldview anymore, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I eventually got to a low enough place where I drunkenly used AOL Instant Messenger to contact a girl that I knew was a Christian. I knew that if I went and talked with her, there wasn't going to be alcohol, there wasn't going to be so much of the other stuff that I was being distracted by. She convinced me to start meeting with her pastor. And it's not that he, by persuasive argument or something, all of a sudden turned me into a Christian, but something about his faith was authentic. He truly believed that the scriptures were true. And his confidence gave me enough of a nudge to start looking into them myself. And at first it wasn't just, Christian scriptures. He invited me to look into Buddhism, Judaism, Zoroastrianism. But the Bible really had something different. What the Bible said about the world matched up with what I saw. It matched up with my reality. It didn't sugarcoat things. And so I slowly found myself reluctantly believing in it, to the point where even though I couldn't tell you a day, there was certainly a transformation where I went from unbelief to belief.
So my experience in college, I feel like was in some ways sort of similar on the front end. I was attending Florida Gulf Coast University in Fort Myers, worlds apart from my best friend at the time, and I also slid into alcohol and partying, essentially dropping out of school. It wasn't a good experience, it wasn't a healthy experience, but all of those poor decisions actually brought me back to Orlando, where my best friend was also back. Earlier, maybe about 6 months before, I received a phone call from him, and he said something that I never would have expected to come from him. He opened up and asked me how I was doing, and he simply said, I found faith. You found faith. I found faith. And I don't remember any more of that conversation, but it put a spark in me. It made me genuinely happy for my friend who I knew was battling depression and alcoholism. And it also made me want something more. I remembered what I had when I was younger, and it reignited that in me, and I wanted to experience that as well.
So back in Orlando, I started going to H2O Church and became involved in one of their life groups, and eventually invited this guy to join.
Yes, and life group, the community group played a huge role in the building of my faith. I got to experience authentic Christians in a real setting, doing life with each other. Not long after, God grabs my heart and just basically pulled me through all of His grace. I read the entire Bible in a matter of 3 months, from start to finish, and from there He completely changed my life. Jesus is my Lord, and I couldn't be happier.